So what is the hot issue right now in the beekeeping world that the rest of us might not be aware of?
Well, I don't know that it's changed that much. We have this external parasite, the varroa mite, and I think I've done this to you before, make a fist and put it someplace on you. This is the varroa mite that's sucking the blood and eating the fat of honeybees, kind of like a big tick. So it's like it's a bug on a bug. And there are a lot of, strangely enough, after many, many years, there are a lot of people out there that are using this parasitic mite to market and sell products and systems and what have you that have no value. They're just making a buck.
Snake oil.
Yeah, and because we are all tribal, we all have confirmation bias. There are a lot of people that join these groups and believe that green Jello will cure varroa mites, and then when their colonies die every year, then they blame the corn grower down the road or the lawn care guy for spraying stuff. I mean, so just trying to get everybody to open their eyes a little bit and think a little bit differently.
I'm a little nervous about saying this because I know how it sounds, but I feel like it's important because one of the things I learned in coronavirus was the audience that listens to this podcast, one of the things they value is like, how do things change in my perspective every day? Because it reflects how much changes in their perspective every day. And so I've tried to be as candid and as honest as I can. And the reason you're on the podcast today is because I had a dream 2 nights ago. Call Jerry, and I woke up in the morning and I was like, I don't have time to write that down. I've got too much to do. So from 4:30 a.m. until 1 p.m., it probably popped into my head 3 times. Hey, you're supposed to call Jerry. You have it written down here on your notes. Call Jerry. And then I looked down at my phone and Jerry Hayes is calling me. We hadn't spoken in like 2 months. And so I felt this sort of like mystic connection. And I was like, all right, I think the connection here is that I should call, I should have Jerry on the podcast. If he's calling me, let's talk about it. And a large part of that is because if you and I were sitting together in work like we used to, I would be stopping by your office, sitting down in the chair and saying, I don't know what to think here. I don't know what to do. I, like all people, want to do the right thing, but I don't know what that is. And I am even afraid to talk about what the right thing might be, because I know what it is to be pointed at, called out of the crowd, and told what you decided to do was wrong, and we are going to shame you to oblivion. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I think we both have been shamed to oblivion a couple times. But yeah, no, this is when you have a passion, when you have a goal and direction, everything else above that is politics. How do you influence listeners? How do you influence people you're going to interview? How do you influence corporations and universities and what have you? And so there isn't a black and white answer to this. This is all about relationships, building trust, and how quickly can you do that? Because if people don't have trust and confidence with you at all levels, then you might as well just go in your basement and watch Netflix.
Yeah, and like it's interesting because the things that seem like to one person, there is no possible way that someone will disagree with this statement that I'm putting forward. And so they put something forward that seems obvious to them because in their gravity well, in everywhere that they see information, every single other person they see sharing these ideas thinks the exact same thing that they do. So then when they put something out there that agrees with what this gravity well says, as long as it stays there, everybody says, thumbs up, good job, you did a great job. But if for some reason your idea goes outside of your gravity well and out into the rest of the world, now you find out, wait, that idea that I thought was so purely simplistically true that everyone would agree with it, now has people attacking me for that idea.
Yeah, no, and it's true. And we have our social groups. What is it? Dunbar's
number, the 300 or so connections.
Yeah, Dunbar's number of how many social interactions we can have because our brain is only so big enough to take care of that. And we use those social groups to feed our egos, to feed our internal desire to be accepted. And, you know, as a result, sometimes we back down when we should be speaking up. And then other times we speak up when we should be backing down. And so this is part of, I think, mortality, is to learn how to engage, to talk, to share, and not be afraid of picking yourself up and dusting yourself off. But 99% of the people I know, and perhaps you as well, you know, once they get knocked on their butt a couple times, boy, that's all over with. I want to keep my head down, not make eye contact, and things will be a lot easier. But then there's weird people like perhaps you and I, who this is kind of a challenge. It's kind of forming a new business, if you will, of how to convince people or understand others so that you can get a better understanding and bring some new ideas to others.
Yeah, the idea of the difference between shame and embarrassment strikes me as important to understand here. You know, like embarrassment being that thing that if you're walking in the cafeteria and you trip, your tray flies everywhere, glasses and food goes everywhere. You fall down on the ground and you kind of smile and your face gets red and some jerk starts clapping or cheering and you think that person is doing you a disservice because you think, oh, they're making fun of me. But really what they're doing is they're giving the crowd the social signal. Hey, we all know this happens. Let's give them a hard time. Let's have that cathartic moment and let's move on. But shame doesn't work that way at all. Shame is one of those things that you go out and you make a mistake and it feels as though the world can see your inner core, some deep part of you. And so when they can peer into it, all you want to do is climb into a hole and hide yourself over from it. And society has this natural reaction to be like, shame, shame, shame. Make sure everybody agrees that this person should be shamed. And this is such a weird, tumultuous time that it feels like things that people could be embarrassed about, they're feeling forced to feel shame over, and people are hiding because they're afraid of that shame. It seems like a wild time.
And there are different kinds of mistakes. And I think shame, we internalize and we allow that shame to grow and to people to recognize it. And then, you know, because we're a competitive species, those people pick on us, and it kind of reinforces the idea that, yeah, we made a big mistake. Falling down with your tray in the lunchroom is a mistake, but it's different than, I don't know, adultery, you know, something like that. And so a lot of our impact and inputs are internalized, and we send out a message to others, or we can. And I think part of it is that I don't care a lot about what other people think if I'm trying to do the right thing. If I've done the wrong thing, I'm more than willing to say, ooh, I screwed up. I apologize. I understand what I did wrong right now. But I think the goal is to have a goal and desire to do the right thing, and then to be open and transparent.
I think that that's one of the transformations that it takes to become like a fully actualized adult, is to know that people are going to have opinions about you that, given what your perspective is on you, you're not going to agree with, but you really only have, did I believe I did the right thing? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, you want to allow enough feedback in that can reach you, that can say like, hey, wait, your arrogant position that you were right there was not correct. So you have to be porous enough that people can reach you. But at the same token, you have to have a straight enough something in you, a rod that is your integrity or whatever that is, that's straight, that says, even if everyone disagrees with me, deep down inside, I know that was the right thing. And so I'm going to keep moving forward. But those two things have to be in balance, because if one becomes stronger than the other, it falls out of whack.
Yeah, no, you really have to be able to have enough confidence in yourself that you did the right thing or trying to do the right thing, and stand up straight and look people in the eye. It's when you collapse and you look down, and there again, people can tell that you're vulnerable. And as a species, we've been very good at picking on people who appear to us to be vulnerable. Well, how many other hominids does the geographic or geological record show that there were on the Earth, and how many of them exist now? We killed them all. We killed all the men. We took the women and the kids, and we killed all the men. And that's why some of us now have Neanderthal genes in us and everything else, because we're super competitive and we want to dominate and have dominance.
I hope you like this podcast short, and I hope you'll hit that like button. It makes a huge difference for how many people see these videos. Also, if you've been following the podcast, you know that we are creating a way that you can support the podcast. People that have been longtime listeners have been asking me, how can I support it? So I created a network, and rather than just put out a coffee can or my hat hoping that people will donate to it, I decided that what I would do would be create a community where you not only get the value of supporting the podcast, but you get to meet other people that are interested in becoming tangibly better communicators. So I'll be there every once in a while putting up lessons. I'll try out classes that I'm putting on for sale to other people. And also we'll create a network where you can share your own speeches, where you can share content that you really care about and ask for feedback from the network. And this will be a network of people that have been trained and thought through how to give the best feedback possible to help you become a tangibly better communicator. I hope you'll check that out. If you're interested, go to my website, vancecrow.com, and add your name to the email list. We're trying to let people in on stages, and rather than have hundreds of people all in at once, we're going to just do it a little bit at a time. So that way we can create a culture that is building and growing and one that is sustainable over the long term. So I hope you'll check that out. Go to vancecrow.com and add your email. I'm glad you're here.